Welcome. It is wonderful to have you join me as we delve into the profound insights of a truly remarkable figure from history, Siddhartha Gautama, the man who came to be known as the Buddha, which simply means the enlightened one. Siddhartha was born a prince in the ancient India, roughly around the 5th century BCE, living a life of comfort and luxury and shielded from the ordinary struggles of the world. But life has a way of presenting its truths, and when Siddhartha eventually encountered an old man, a sick person, and a corpse, these experiences of aging, illness, and death deeply affected him. He realized that suffering was a fundamental part of existence, and this realization sparked a profound quest. He renounced his privileged life, not out of despair, but out of a burning desire to understand the nature of suffering and, crucially, to find a way to overcome it. After years of rigorous spiritual practices and deep meditation, Siddhartha finally attained what he was searching for: enlightenment. And from that moment, he began to share his insights, his Dharma, which formed the very foundation of what we know today as Buddhism. So what's at the very heart of his teachings? Well, it begins with what are known as the Four Noble Truths. These aren't pessimistic declarations, but rather a clear-eyed and realistic assessment of our human condition and the path to freedom. The first truth he spoke of is the truth of suffering, or dukkha. This isn't just about obvious pain or distress. It's a broader concept. It includes that subtle sense of dissatisfaction, the feeling that things aren't quite right, the stress that comes from knowing everything is impermanent. It's recognizing that life in its various forms involves this element of unsatisfactoriness. The next question is, where does this suffering come from? And this leads us to the second noble truth, the origin of suffering, or samudaya. Buddha identified the primary cause as tanra, a word that translates to craving, thirst, or deep-seated attachment. Think about our desires for pleasant experiences to last forever, our aversion to unpleasant ones, our clinging to ideas of who we are or how things should be. It's this constant cycle of wanting and resisting, often rooted in a misunderstanding of reality, that fuels our dukkha. But here's where the message becomes incredibly hopeful. The third noble truth is the cessation of suffering, or nirvana. Buddha taught that it is possible to bring an end to this dukkha, to extinguish these cravings and attachments. And the state that results from this cessation is called nirvana, a state of profound peace, liberation, and freedom from the endless cycle of suffering. So, how did Buddha suggest we actually do this? How do we walk this path to liberation? This brings us to the fourth noble truth, the path to the cessation of suffering, or magga. And this path is a very practical, comprehensive guide known as the Noble Eightfold Path. It's not a set of rigid rules, but rather 8 interconnected aspects of life and practice that we cultivate. It starts with right understanding, which means really grasping these 4 noble truths and seeing things as they truly are. Then there's right thought or intention, which encourages us to foster thoughts of kindness, compassion, and non-harming, steering away from negativity and ill will. We go from our thoughts straight to our words and actions. The right speech, which means speaking honestly and kindly, steering clear of gossip or hurtful words. The right action, which means living ethically, abstaining from actions like killing, stealing, or engaging in sexual misconduct. And this ethical living extends to our work life through right livelihood. It is about choosing a way to make a living that doesn't harm ourselves or others. The path then turns more inward, to the cultivation of our minds. Right effort is about actively working to prevent unwholesome states of mind from arising, to let go of those that have arisen, to nurture and maintain positive, wholesome states. A very key component here is right mindfulness. This is the practice of paying attention to the present moment, to our body, our feelings, our thoughts, and the world around us, with a clear, non-judgmental awareness. And finally, there's right concentration, which involves developing deep focus and mental calm, often through dedicated meditation practices, leading to clarity and insight. Woven throughout these teachings are some other incredibly important concepts. One is anicca, the understanding that everything is impermanent. All conditioned things, from our thoughts and emotions to the physical world around us, are constantly changing. Another core idea is anatta, or no self. This is a subtle but profound teaching that there's no permanent, unchanging, independent I or soul at our core. What we think of as ourself is more like a dynamic process, a collection of constantly shifting physical and mental components. Grasping this can free us from a lot of ego-driven anxieties. And then there's karma, the principle of cause and effect, where our intentional actions, what we do, what we say, and even think with intention, create consequences that shape our experiences both now and in the future. Now you might wonder, how did these ancient ideas from over 2,000 years ago apply to our busy modern lives? Well, their relevance is perhaps more striking than ever. Think about the levels of stress and anxiety so prevalent today. The practice of mindfulness, directly derived from Buddhist teaching on right mindfulness, is now a cornerstone of many therapeutic approaches, helping people manage stress and cultivate emotional balance. The emphasis on compassion, on right speech, and right action provides a timeless guide for building healthier relationships and fostering a more ethical and understanding society. Something incredibly valuable in our often polarized world. In an age that often equates happiness with material possessions, Buddha's insights into craving and attachment offer a powerful alternative, a path to finding contentment and peace that comes from within, rather than from external sources. The understanding of impermanence, anicca, can help us navigate the inevitable changes and losses in life with greater resilience and acceptance. And the ethical framework of the Eightfold Path, including right livelihood, encourages us to reflect on the impact of our choices and actions on the wider world, which is vital as we face global challenges. So, the teachings of Buddha offer us not just a fascinating philosophy, but a practical guide to understanding ourselves and the nature of our existence more deeply. It's a path that encourages wisdom, compassion, and the cultivation of inner peace, tools that are as relevant and transformative today as they were centuries ago.